Good afternoon and welcome to More Tea Minister. My name is Ian. Today's video is a second part of a double bill where we're looking at one particular tea cultivar, Jade, in two manifestations, both of which are oolongs, but one is a standard green oolong. That was the subject of our previous video, and that was named, appropriately enough, Jade Oolong, and that's from Curious Tea. And today we are looking at roasted Tsui Yu Oolong Tea, which is the untranslated name for Jade, roasted Jade Oolong. And this is from a brand which isn't new to me, but which is new to our channel, and that is Eco Cha. So what we're going to do is, as we did with our Jin Chuan in its various guises, we're going to take a closer look at the leaves of these two respective oolongs in its green format and in its roasted format. We'll also take an opportunity to look a little more closely at the packaging, because we haven't seen the packaging of Eco Cha before, and the packaging for Curious Tea is always worth examining. So back in a moment and we'll take a look at the packaging and the leaves, and then we'll move on to our brewing. See you soon. Hello again. Here we are looking at the packaging for the green version of the oolong. This is Jade Oolong from Curious Tea that we reviewed in our previous video. There's always plenty of information on a Curious Tea label. As I mentioned before, the colour scheme can tell you what kind of tea it is. You'll note the dark blue down here along with the word oolong, but there's always various symbols related to a particular country that the tea comes from, and you've got down here a Taiwanese flag and the origin whereabouts in Taiwan. We've got plenty of information here about the flavour profile of the tea, the brewing parameters here, the harvesting date, and a one-word version of the flavour profile. You can also tell that this is 50-gram packaging. We're just going to move to have a quick look at the packaging for this brand that's new to us, or at least new to our channel, should I say. Here we have the packaging for Eco Cha's roasted Tsui Yu Oolong Tea. Now, I took the trouble via Google Lens to look at the characters here, and apparently they translate as a sip of tea, which is fantastic. There's the Eco Cha label down here, some flavour profile notes there. I haven't yet had a look at what this here translates as. If I tip the packaging this way, you can have a look at some more tasting notes and some information about the harvest date. It's machine harvested, and that's quite a lowish altitude, from Song Bowling in Taiwan, and it's spring of last year, and there's the brewing guide. The one thing I'll say before we actually take a look at the leaves is that I freely admit this isn't a like-for-like comparison, because the Curious Tea was from March of this year, whereas here we're looking at something from last year. However, it's the same cultivar, and given its difficult... Sorry for that rattling noise, that's me pouring out some leaves. It's difficult to actually find some of the cultivar itself. So we're going to take a quick look at what's inside the packaging. I promise you, I do know how to open a box. These larger boxes, and this is the 150-gram version, come with that kind of corrugated cardboard, the fold-away cardboard. It's a vacuum-sealed packaging, and up at the top there we have Eco Cha Roasted Tsui Yu Oolong. You can see it's a good hefty package, and because it's rolled oolong, the leaves aren't going to get damaged by this kind of vacuum sealing. So let's take a quick look at the leaves from the green version. And I'm going to just do my best to give us a close-up on these leaves. Maybe move that a little bit. There we go. Plenty of greenery there, dark green. You can see where the stems of the leaves aren't as dark, but you'll see those most easily once it's unfurled. Not much roasting colour there. I don't think this green version's been roasted at all. So let's move that away, and we'll just take a moment to have a look at the roasted version. Now, I'm just talking desperately to fill time, because I wanted to leave the package unsealed until the last minute. There we go. That was I don't know if you heard that, but that was a wonderful sound. Here we are. This is the tea, the roasted version. You can immediately see how different that is. There's no greenery there whatsoever. It looks even more tightly rolled with the effect of the roasting. I would have, if I hadn't known better, I would have said that was actually charcoal roasted. When we move to the tasting, we'll have a look at the colour of this as well. So there we go. That's a comparison of the packaging and the two leaves of the two kinds of oolong that we've been reviewing in this double bill. See you in a mo. Hello again and welcome to part 3 of our video. We're going to, as always, review this tea in a Western brewing style and in a Gongfu style. However, to save us a few moments, I've already poured out the Western brewed tea into our transparent jug. So first of all, let's take a look at the colour. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's a pale bronze, I would say. That's a very inviting colour. On the nose, on the jug, the roasting quality comes out more as a sweetness, a slight baked quality and sweetness. There's none of the harshness that you might expect with a really heavy roasting. I suspect this one's going to bring out those biscuity qualities rather than anything harsh. Funnily enough, there's a hint of smoke there. It's sort of isolated, if I can put it that way, the biscuit quality. I'm kind of brought it to the fore. The biscuit and the sweetness. Definitely the biscuit. In fact, it's almost, believe it or not, it's almost like a millionaire shortbread. It's got the slightly bittersweet note on top of a biscuit. That's really good. So that was following the brewing parameters from EcoChar. So that was quite a high proportion of tea to water, 6 grams of tea per 300 mils, 95 degrees centigrade, and I gave it the full 3 minutes. So let's move on to our Gongfu. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's make sure everything is warmed up. We're going to keep the water at 95. We're going to go with our standard 6 grams of tea per 100 mils. You've already had a look at these leaves close up, but there we are. Classic rolled oolong. That's the Gaiwan heated up. Now, let's see how quickly this unfolds. You may recall, if you watched our previous video, it didn't take very long for the Jade version, let's put it the green oolong version, to unfurl. Normally I would have expected teas to take 2 lots of 30 seconds. It was really 1 and a bit. In fact, it's doing the same as the Jade. It's almost popping. There's air bubbles escaping already. So it really must be something to do with the leaves. So we're going to give that one 30 seconds and then we'll see how it all comes together. I don't think the broad-brimmed strainer will be absolutely essential, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's get our tea out of the way. If I remember, I'll find out what these characters here mean through the wizardry of Google Lens, and I'll put that in the description box. Let's take a look. Yep, that's a wee bit of unfurling already. Not quite as fast as the green oolong version, but pretty fast. The stalks, funnily enough, are more unfurled than the leaves. Okay, let's call that our first steeping. That's about 30. It's already got, jumping ahead of ourselves, about as much colour as the Western did. Now the smokiness, or at least the strong roasted note, is coming through on that steeping. It's not got the extra bitterness of a charcoal, but it's pretty smoky. There's a nice bronze colour. I'm really surprised at that because there wasn't that much of it on the Western. Yep, even there where sweetness, the cup usually brings out the sweetness, but the smoke's there. The smoke is there, but it's well balanced. The sweetness is still there and the smoke is still there, and the smoke is there. So a sweetness and a smokiness, well balanced. I'm hoping a later steeping, maybe 2 or 3, will bring that biscuit quality back or bring it out. A little thin as well, so I wouldn't want to make it any hotter, but certainly we'll be relying on more steeping on the leaves. Put the 100 back in, and we're going to give that 25, which was longer than we did for the green oolong version on the second steep, but I want whatever was causing that slight thinness, I want to get past that. So as I say, we'll give this one 25. Just trying to catch a note of something other than the roasted smokiness. That will let us know we've hit the jackpot. Let's try that. Oh, much richer colour. The smokiness is really strong, but it's quite a complex smell. It isn't just raw smoke. It really is like, it's like a roasted sweet potato, I would say. I know they sometimes say that about the charcoal ones, but that's what I'm picking up there. One where they really put some heat on the skins, but that's what I would say. The colour, that's what I'm picking up. I would say that's a nice pale bronze, maybe a bit of yellow thrown in. Same as on the lid. It's a roasted, mellow and roasted, that's it. There's still sweetness, but it's very mellow kind of roasted quality. And a hint of smoke. The sweetness behind that smoke is coming through on the cup. Yeah, that's the flavours all coming together there. Bit of smoke, a roasted sweet vegetable quality, and a straight up smokiness. So let's move on to our third and final steeping. We're trying to get ahead of ourselves here. So the leaves are pretty much unfurled. It's not always easy to tell with roasted leaves because they remain fairly, I don't know how we'd call it, crinkled up. They don't flatten out quite as much. The fair bit of smoke came off, smoky note came off that. So let's give that 25. I know that might seem no, start at 20. Right, that's 25. Let's see where we've got. Okay. The roasted sort of sweet potato yam qualities to the fore there. Sweetness and roastedness. I would say the same is true there. Same pale yellowy bronze. I could do with that biscuit quality coming back. Maybe that's a later steeping. Because it's really sweet off the cup. I wonder if it just needs to cool in the cup a little to pick it up. There's a hint of it there. We might need to get to a later steeping to manage that, but rest assured I won't take your time past a third steeping. So what can we say about this tea? Flavour-wise, it's pretty complex. I would say the roasting has brought out the natural sweetness. It doesn't say heavy roasted, but there's enough there to put a hint of smoke on it, but not enough to sort of make it raw and smoky like the charcoal can sometimes do. It's isolated the sweetness. I would have liked that baked quality, the shortbready baked quality, to come to the fore, but maybe it needs a later steeping, as I've said. So on the point of view of flavour, it's excellent. Western style, very easy to brew, obviously. Gongfu, it's a lovely tea, but I can't in all honesty say this is the easiest one because I'm still chasing down some of the flavour profile. Water temperature seems to be spot on. 6 grams seems to be doing fine. I would just tweak the length of each steeping. Although one advantage is how quickly these leaves unfurl. Let me see if you can see some of that. There you go. For roasted oolong, that's pretty good. And on the third point, how easy is it to get hold of this? Well, the whole point of, one of the things I mentioned in the first part of this double bill is Jade isn't easy to get hold of, and the roasted version, at least for my forays online, it's even harder. So despite being a fantastic taste and well worth trying if you can chase it down to accompany an experiment with the green oolong version, it's going to come in less than 2 out of 3. If you're in the mood, however, for trying to compare like for like, it's much easier to get hold of, let's say, a roasted Jinshuan or a roasted Qingxin, which we're going to be seeing a lot more of soon enough. So don't despair about trying to find 2 versions of the same oolong. It's easy enough to get hold of a green version and a roasted version of the same cultivar, and you might be able to do it much more similarly in terms of year and harvest and location of where it's been farmed and harvested and processed. So 1.5, but don't let that put you off this if you have a chance to get hold of it. Thank you for watching, and it only remains for me to say happy steeping and God bless.